Good morning, Year 3. So today we're carrying on looking at those bar graphs. We'll start with the in focus question, and we'll also have some statements to read today from 3 pupils. So you'll have to decide whether they're true or false. And we'll look at the bar graph, and then it'll be your turn. So, the in focus question. It says the bar graph shows the number of pupils who like different sports. So we have, on the left hand side, we have the scale, and below the bottom we have the different types of sports. So we've got badminton, swimming, tennis and football. And it also says at the bottom, 3 pupils are talking about the graph. So we're going to look at which is the favourite sport. Okay, we can visually see which is the favourite, but don't just write which sport. Tell me how many pupils like that sport. Okay, and this is really important to write down all the bits of information now, because you're going to need them in a second when you're deciding whether the 3 pupils statements are true or false. Okay, which is the least favourite sport, and looking at what that scale is going up in, because again those smaller markings are really important, because not all of the bars hit those big numbers, they go in between. So those smaller markings are really important, and that tells us exactly the number of pupils that preferred that sport. Okay, you might want to write down which favourite sports in which order, so which was the middle favourite, how many pupils liked or preferred that sport, and so on. So as much information you can write down now, do so, because you will need it. So pause the video and have a go. So here are the 3 pupils statements, and again what I would do is I would pause the video and I would write the statements down. There's 2 statements per pupil. Okay, so Sam's got 2, Amira's got 2, and Ravi's got 2. And say whether you agree or disagree with them, because some part of their statement might be true, whilst another part might not be. Okay, so Sam says the largest number of pupils likes swimming. He also says that the smallest number of pupils likes football. So if we move on and we look at Amira's, so she says that 14 more pupils like swimming than badminton, and fewer than 40 pupils like tennis. So we've got to find out whether those statements are true or false. And then finally, Ravi says 38 pupils like tennis. So is that true or is false? And also he says that more pupils like badminton than tennis. Okay, it says whose statements are all correct. So we've got to decide at the end, was it Sam's statements that were all true, Amira's statements that were all true, or Ravi's? Okay, so now we're going to have a little look at Sam's statements and see whether all of his were true or not. So Sam says that he thought the largest number of pupils liked swimming. So was he right? Yes, he was, because if we can visually look, we can clearly see that swimming is the tallest, so therefore without having to work it out, we know that it is the biggest. Okay, but if we look at the scale, and again those big numbers are counting on in tens, but what are the little markings going up in? Well, they're going up in 2s. Okay, so if we were to count how many exactly prefer swimming, it would be 54. So 54 pupils prefer swimming. So he was right, the largest number do prefer swimming. And then he also said the smallest number of pupils like football. Now that isn't correct, because even without having to count and look at the scale, we can see that the shortest bar is tennis. Okay, and if we were to go across and look at the scale, we can see that it was 36 pupils that preferred tennis, whereas for football there was 42. So clearly that part of Sam's statement was not correct. Okay, so not all of Sam's statements were correct, so it can't be him. Now, if we look at Amira's, so Amira said one of her statements was 14 more pupils liked swimming than badminton. So we just need to look at badminton and swimming at the moment. So we begin by, we're finding that difference. So we begin by putting swimming first, because when we find the difference, we take away, and we always start with the biggest number. So 54, take away 40, leaves us with 14. So 14 more pupils liked swimming over playing tennis. So therefore, for that part of her statement, she was correct. Moving on to her final statement, she said that fewer than 40 pupils like tennis. So if we look at the tennis bar, is it fewer than 40? Yes, it is. So all of Amira's comments and statements were correct. And then let's look at Ravi's. So Ravi said 38 pupils like tennis. So if we look at tennis and we go across and look at the scale, is the scale reading off 38? And it's not. It's reading off 36. So straight away, one of Ravi's comments or statements is false, is incorrect, because actually the number of pupils that find tennis their favourite sport was 36 and not 38. And then his final statement was more pupils like badminton than tennis. And as you can see, he is correct with that one, because 40 pupils like badminton and only 36 like tennis. So 40 is more than 36, so therefore that statement is true. Okay, so we were looking at badminton and tennis. So like we've said here, 36 say tennis is their favourite sport and not 38, and more people prefer badminton than tennis. Okay, so he was not all correct, but some of them were. So if we look at that question, really, it was Amira that had all of her statements were true. And now it's your turn. So please visit the Google Classroom and find your attached activities and questions to have a go at. Good luck.